cancel culture and society learned everything they know from right within the church. Let's be honest, the church, and even more specifically the white evangelical church, has been a leader in cancel culture for a very long time. I find it so ironic when white Christians are crying out against cancel culture in society when it appears that the roles now are reversed. Come on, they learned it from us. We modeled cancel culture. We practically perfected it. And now when cancel culture attacks the things that we hold dear, hey, wait a minute, you're not allowed to do that. Only we get to cancel things. Let's take a stroll down memory lane to remember just how good we are at canceling the things. Remember that time that the church decided that Disney was too pro-gay and decided to cancel them? I do. It was massive. Enormous amounts of Christians across the entire country canceled the living heck out of Disney, calling it a decay of our moral society. The entire Southern Baptist Convention made an official boycott of Disney that lasted 8 years. 8 years! These people were not playing. The Southern Baptists, of course, being the largest evangelical denomination in the United States. Let's also not forget the Southern Baptists were also embroiled in a massive sex abuse scandal across the entire denomination, more than 700 victims coming forward and 380 clergy involved over 20 years, going back to 1998. The Disney boycott started in 1997. Clearly, it was Disney trying to be more inclusive of all sexuality. That was the thing that was destroying the moral fabric of our society, and not toxic masculinity and abuse right within the church. Removes tongue from cheek. Jerry Falwell Sr., the leader of the moral majority, boycotted Teletubbies. You guessed it, Tinky Winky, far too gay. Christians were up in arms about Teletubbies, but they didn't blink an eye when Falwell called AIDS the wrath of a just God against homosexuality. Likewise, evangelicals weren't outraged when Falwell called one of my heroes of the faith and anti-apartheid leader Desmond Tutu a phony. But boy oh boy, Tinky Winky, he was destroying the moral fabric of our nation. It's absurd. Christians canceled Ellen DeGeneres when she came out. It started raining. I needed an umbrella. Christians will also cancel their own too. We are a bloodthirsty lot. Y'all remember Rob Bell? Boy, was he canceled. He was one of Christianity's rising stars. He wrote a book about hell, which prompted Christians to quickly wish he were there. Honestly, the list goes on and on. Rachel Held Evans, canceled. Jen Hatmaker, canceled. Now, personally to me, when I was a part of the Vineyard Church, there was an amazing worship leader by the name of Vicky Beeching. That girl can rock. She was hands down one of my favorite singer-songwriters in worship music. She came out of the closet. Canceled. Music pulled from Christian bookstores, songs no longer sung in church, online scathing articles written. I was always such a rebel because I would intentionally pick her songs to lead in worship. People who didn't know any better, who definitely would have canceled her in real life, were out in the auditorium with their hands up worshiping. It makes me smile. We have a good time. And Beth Moore, she's in the process right now of being canceled. You guys get to watch that happen in real life. What do men in the church think of women? Once again, people that would absolutely cry foul at cancel culture and society when talking about Beth Moore are all like, oh, get her books out of the bookstore. Nobody listened to her, drop her funding, and don't you dare invite her to church anymore to talk. We are the worst. We canceled Harry Potter, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering because they were too occultic. And of course we canceled Nike because Colin Kaepernick. Or yoga and martial arts because they're far too Eastern. And let us not forget that we canceled American Girl dolls. And remember that time we boycotted the French? I don't even remember what it was for, but they were no longer French fries. Instead, they were freedom fries. We're the worst, and now we are reaping what we have sowed. There's an old adage when it comes to cancel culture, and it has to do with most people think it's okay to cancel others when it's something that they feel strongly about, but they don't want to be canceled by other people. Boycott for thee, but not for me. We do it all the time. Even think about massive themes of our faith. God canceled humanity's ability to stay within the Garden of Eden because we ate a piece of fruit. Then God canceled all of humanity by destroying them in a flood. Then God canceled all the surrounding cultures that weren't a part of this narrow Abrahamic faith passed down through Abraham, Jacob, and Moses. If you were part of the Hebrew community and didn't follow the Hebrew or Judaic laws even to the tiniest bit, bam, canceled, cut off from the community. We have been using tools of cancellation and shame to shun people both inside and outside the faith for ages. Even in terms of eschatology, the church has believed that eventually there's going to be a massive cancellation where God is with his chosen people for all of eternity, and if you didn't follow Jesus like you should on this earth during this time frame, well, you're gonna be canceled. But now we are upset when the same tools and tactics that we have used against others are coming back to bite us. Wait a minute, only we get to cancel. But I think we actually need to take a look at what cancellation really is. A whole lot of people out there talking about Jennifer Lopez's halftime dance last year or Cardi B's WAP as being the problems with our society. Check out this image that I saw this weekend. If you're offended by Pepe Le Pew but listening to Cardi B's WAP, you are what is wrong with America. WAP is all about women taking control of their sexuality, loving their bodies, women enjoying sex, adult women being turned on. Cardi B has said herself, of course I don't want my kids to listen to this music, because it's for adults. It has explicit content. It isn't meant for kids. Whereas literally Pepe Le Pew is a cartoon intently made for children. They are the intended audience. Not only are children the intended audience, but Pepe Le Pew is full of toxic masculinity. He is continually forcing himself on a female that is obviously not into him. Over and over and over again. That's the entire plot line of the cartoon. He refuses to take no for an answer. And men in society are like, what? It teaches kids to be persistent, to always go after the girl, and to not accept rejection. Those are good things, right? Oh, really they're not. It teaches boys rape culture 101, that girls really want it from you. They're just trying to hide it. That you need to keep advancing even when you're told no. And most of all, it teaches young boys that when a girl says no, she really means yes. So one is a song from an adult woman who says that it isn't for children to listen to, about an adult woman enjoying sex in her body and being general sexual creatures. And the other is about a male skunk forcing himself upon a female cat that is geared for children. It's honestly really hard to think that people are standing beside Pepe Le Pew. I've watched it as an adult, and as a dad with 3 boys, I don't want my kids acting like that when they grow up. And I can hear the pushback now, but Kyle, do you want young girls in society listening to and acting out like Cardi B? No. I side with Cardi B on that one. It's not for children. However, I do think that women should be able to enjoy their sexuality. I do think that adult women should be able to express themselves. I want women in my life to have the best sex ever and feel empowered to make their own decisions and be proud of their bodies. I'm a huge fan of that. At the very root of that idea, I can get behind. That sex isn't dirty, that girls wanting sex and somehow isn't a bad thing. But the very basis of Pepe Le Pew, I can't really get behind. Nobody should act like that in society. Some things are meant to be left behind. I've seen things about how people, mainly white people, can't believe that people are canceling Disney movies such as Peter Pan or Dumbo. Now, once again, it's mostly out of ignorance that people say such things. I understand that, but nobody is canceling them. That idea is absurd. Disney has even said, you know what? These are cartoons that are primarily intended for kids. We fully recognize that, but at the same time, we also recognize there's a lot of negative and hurtful stereotypes portrayed in these movies. We don't want to give kids free access to such harmful and racist material, so we are going to block kids under the age of 7 from having open access to them. Parents, if you want to expose your kids to highly racist material and hurtful stereotypes, you can still do that. They're just not available openly and freely to kids. Or the 2 big ones and hot button issues in today. I can't believe that people are canceling Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. Nobody is canceling them. I love a lot of Dr. Seuss. I hate a very small portion of Dr. Seuss. That's okay. The Seuss estate decided to stop publishing 6 of the most harmful of his books because of the harm that they can do in our society. Once again, if you as a parent want to expose your kid to really hurtful stereotypes and continue to propagate racism, you totally can do that. The Seuss estate has just decided that they aren't going to continue with it. And I really hate to break this to everyone watching, but it turns out that potatoes don't have gender. And wait for this little nugget for the people who are super upset about it all. Shh, don't tell them where all the extra body parts are stored. They will have a conniption fit. Wait, you shoved the potato's arm where? I spent half of my time as a kid trying to figure out how to get those dang shoes in and out of his caboose. I was singing Hamilton lyrics before it was cool. Bend over, I'll show you where my shoe fits. But once again, it wasn't real. It was just a bunch of people online with parlor accounts making a lot of noise. Nobody was canceling Mr. Potato Head. Hasbro instead was just rebranding the entire line of toys, calling the overarching line Potato Head, but still very much keeping the titles Mr. and Mrs. Once again, if you are a parent that needs your kid to have a gendered potato, surprise, that thing is still a thing. Friends, Most of this is absurd. Often what people are referring to with cancel culture isn't actually cancel culture. I'm sorry, but holding people in authority accountable for the actions they've done is not canceling them. It's the right thing to do. Making sure that we as a society progress in a way that won't continue to use hurtful, homophobic, and racial stereotypes isn't canceling. It's the right thing to do. Church, we can do better. Next week, I'm taking a week off for spring break. I will give you some time to digest this week's video, and I'll be back the following week as we take a close look at the Pope's statements on gay marriage. I'll see you back here in 2 weeks, same time, same place.